Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to our special distance learning edition of World History. Week number 3, we are talking about World War I. So, let's talk about the big questions that we'll be going over here with this war. So, first of all, we're talking about what are the immediate and main causes of World War I. So MAIN is an acronym, as you'll see. It helps us remember our 4 big reasons why this massive war broke out in 1914. Also, we're talking about what are the effects of World War I. Although this war was ended over 100 years ago, it's going to cast a very long shadow on the 20th century, and the results of this war are going to have a profound impact lasting all the way up to the present day. So, World War I, also known as the Great War, also coincidentally known as the War to End All Wars. Yeah, let me tell you how well that worked out. At that point in history, World War I was the bloodiest war that had ever been fought. While the true number is unknowable, it's estimated that some 30 million soldiers and civilians were killed or wounded as a result of this global conflict. So, why did it all happen? What was the reason for it? Well, let's get into that. So, let's start first of all with our immediate cause of World War I, the event that's going to begin it. We see this reflected in this quotation here from Edward House, who's a U.S. ambassador, writing back to then U.S. President Woodrow Wilson about the state of Europe here in 1914, about the climate of it. And he says, everyone's nerves are tense. It requires only a spark to set the whole thing off. By 1914, it was beginning to seem like war between the major European powers was almost inevitable. And the only question was not, will they go to war, but when will they go to war and what will cause it? And so let's talk about what that spark was that set the whole thing off. The assassination of the Archduke of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Franz Ferdinand, and also his wife as well, as we'll see. So let's talk about what happened in this assassination, and we'll get into how does this lead to a world war. So we're watching a couple clips from a video that's going to talk about the assassination. So this first one here, well, first of all, let's talk about exactly what is the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Obviously, it doesn't exist anymore, but at that time it was one of the largest and most powerful empires in Europe, made up of a lot of different modern-day countries. Now, the Austro-Hungarian Empire was, an amalgamation of a lot of different ethnic groups, and many of these ethnic groups actually wanted to break away from this Austro-Hungarian Empire. And the one that we're really going to focus on are these down here towards the bottom. If you look down there at the bottom, we have the Slavs. So they're the Serbs, excuse me. So the Serbs are under the control of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and many of them want to break away from that empire. And so in order to kind of create unity, the Archduke, Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the throne of the empire, is going to go on a public tour in fairly hostile territory in Sarajevo there in Bosnia. And so we're going to see what happens when he decides to parade in Sarajevo in an open-top car with his wife and attempt to build unity and solidarity in his empire. All right, here we go. The assassination attempt.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand has spent the morning inspecting troops on manoeuvres outside the city, and is now about to set off on his tour of Sarajevo. Although he has been advised he could receive a hostile reception, the Archduke is determined to project a friendly image towards his subjects. He insists on driving through the town in an open-topped car. In the same spirit, Franz Ferdinand has decided against deploying the army onto the streets. Instead, just 120 policemen are on duty. Yesterday, local newspapers published the Archduke's route. Now the assassins take up their positions along the Apple Quay, the main street which runs alongside the River Milchka. First in line is Mehmed Basik, 2 years ago he tried and failed to assassinate the governor of Sarajevo. Today, Governor Potorek is travelling in the same car as the Archduke. Further up the street, Jelko Gabrinovich asks an unsuspecting local policeman to point out the Archduke's car. He learns it will be the third vehicle in the 6-car motorcade. Next, the two schoolboys move into position. Popovich and Gabrinovich stand opposite each other, one on either side of the street. They are both armed with a bomb. Trifko Grabez, armed with a revolver, takes a spot a little further down the road. In the centre is Gavrilo Princip. Having proved himself a crack shot with his pistol, he is here to ensure the job is finished if one of the less experienced members of the gang should botch the attack. Although he supplied the weapons, Danilo Ilic is unwilling to actually commit murder. Unarmed, he prepares to watch the action unfold. As the car proceeds along the Apple Quay, the Archduke's wife Sophie is particularly enjoying the procession. Because of her low birth status, Sophie has never before been allowed to accompany the Archduke on an official tour. Today, as a special wedding anniversary gift, the devoted husband has arranged for her to accompany him for the first time. As the car approaches, Mehmed Basik has the first opportunity to attack. The car passes directly in front of him, but Mehmed Basik does not act. But there are still 6 assassins waiting for their chance to strike. Next on the route is Gabrinovich. Like Princip, he is dying of tuberculosis. With the knowledge he has a terminal illness, Gabrinovich is desperate to go down in history as a martyr for the cause. With the car just 20 feet away, Gabrinovich strikes the percussion cap of his grenade and hurls it at his target. At the last moment, the Archduke sees the bomb coming and raises his arm to protect his beloved wife. The driver accelerates and the grenade bounces off the back of the car. Gabrinovich had forgotten the bomb had a 10-second delay. Without waiting to see if his attempt was successful, Gabrinovich sticks to the plan. After swallowing his cyanide, he jumps into the river Milchka to ensure that he dies. When the bomb explodes, the car is clear of the blast and the Archduke escapes unharmed. The remaining assassins are too stunned to react when the car drives straight past them. 12 bystanders are injured in the explosion, including Erich von Maritzi, part of the Archduke's retinue travelling in the car behind. Despite his suicide bid, Gabrinovich was captured. The cyanide he had taken was very old and only made him vomit. Although he jumped into the river to be sure that he died, it was only 4 inches deep. As he is taken away for interrogation, he says,
"I am a Serb hero."
But the plan had failed.
All right, so let's review what happened here. So this is the initial assassination attempt of the Archduke by these Serb nationalists. Now they're hoping that assassinating the Archduke will lead to a general Serb uprising, which will lead to independence for this area here. So the Archduke and his wife, they're touring here, Sarajevo, so kind of hostile territory in a way, trying to, like I said, create unity and, make themselves visible to the people. And there are, along the route, 6 assassins that are part of this secret group. So the first guy, he freezes, he doesn't do anything, lets the car pass by. Now the second guy, Kabrinovich, as we saw, he's going to throw a grenade. Unfortunately, he forgot that grenade had a 10-second delay on it, and so when it goes off, actually the car is quite clear of it. Now, he, of course, is going to drink cyanide and throw himself into the river in an attempt to kill himself, but as you heard, the cyanide was actually no good, and the river was only 4 inches deep. Worst assassin ever. So, it looks like this, attempted assassination is botched by these guys. So what eventually happens to allow them to actually succeed? Well, as we're going to see, there's going to be kind of a weird twist of fate that's going to lead to this successful assassination of the Archduke
For
and his
attending the
wife.
official reception, Franz Ferdinand now insists on visiting the injured in hospital. As a precaution against further attack, the loyal Count Harrach insists on personally protecting the Archduke. He now takes a position on the running board of the car in order to shield him with his body. Across town in the park, the gang are still nervous that with one of their number in custody, their role in the plot could be revealed at any moment. At the police station, Nejelko Kabrinovich is being brutally interrogated, but he maintains the Black Hand's vow of secrecy.
No one but me in Sarajevo knew about this bomb.
Gavrilo Princip has just eaten a sandwich and is now standing outside Schiller's Delicatessen on the corner of Franz Joseph Street. The Imperial Party now plan to visit the hospital. This means driving back along the main street, the Apple Key. But somehow, the chauffeur becomes confused, and he now takes a wrong turn which will change the course of history. Gavrilo Princip just happens to be standing outside Schiller's Delicatessen when suddenly the Archduke's car turns into Franz Joseph Street. Completely by chance, fate has brought the assassin and his target within 10 feet of each other. Poitorek notices they are going the wrong way and tells the driver to reverse, but the gears become jammed. Although 2 shots have been fired, it seems as if no one is hurt, until Count Harrach notices the Archduke is bleeding.
As I pulled out my handkerchief to wipe away the blood, Her Highness cried out, "For God's sake, what happened to you?" Then she sank down. I had no idea that she had been hit.
Sophie, look in there!
His Royal Highness said, Sophie, don't die, live for our children."
Both of Princip's shots had found their mark. Despite Franz Ferdinand's bulletproof jacket and lucky charms, he had been shot clean through the neck, while his pregnant wife had been hit in the stomach. This photograph actually captured the moment when Gavrilo Princip was apprehended. The cyanide was again in effect.
So in world history, we talk about these big trends, these big, monumental events that shape the world. But it's important to remember that sometimes individual actions can have very significant consequences. Princip's assassination here of the Archduke in this almost, unseeming, way, is going to be the spark that's going to light the conflagration that will result in 30 million people worldwide meeting their end or meeting significantly altered fate. So let's talk about what happens here. So, just by chance, as the Archduke is coming back to go visit the people that have been injured in that bomb blast in the hospital, his driver takes a wrong turn, and who's sitting right there out in front of the deli but one of the assassins, Gavrilo Princip, who's going to fire 2 shots. Both of them are going to hit their mark, and will result in the death of both the Archduke and his wife. So the guys responsible for this, they're a Serbian national group called the Black Hand. And this assassination in Sarajevo, like I said, this is going to be the spark that's going to lead to World War I. But of course, this singular event, in any other context or situation, wouldn't lead to a world war. But there's a lot of other factors that are involved here. Due to the climate and culture of Europe at the time, they're going to cause this event to lead to this outbreak of war. All right, so we're going to leave off here. We're about out of time for this one, so I want you to go ahead and click on part 2 after this, and we'll talk about our main causes of World War I.